This is was news yesterday. MSNBC cancels far left host Mehdi Hasan's program. So forgive the forgive the editorial slant of this article. I use Fox News because they pointed out certain things that some of the other articles didn't. But yes, Mehdi Hasan's MSNBC channel, MSNBC show has been canceled at the network. MSNBC has canceled far-left host Mehdi Hasan's Sunday night program as part of a major weekend programming shift. Hasan will lose his weekend show as well as his show on the Peacock streaming service, but will stay at the network as an on-camera analyst and fill-in host. So they didn't fire him. They didn't part ways with him, but they took his show away. Ayman Mohyeldin will take over Hasan's one-hour Sunday program as he expands his weekend footprint. Known as one of the more pugnacious liberal media figures in cable news, Hasan joined MSNBC in 2020 after stints at Al Jazeera and the hard-left site, The Intercept. Again, forgive the Fox News editorial bent. Hasan's cancellation comes on the heels of inflammatory remarks he made in 2009, long before becoming an MSNBC personality, circulating online last weekend when they were unearthed by New York Post reporter John Levine, although it doesn't appear the two are related. So yes, Mehdi Hasan, and we've covered this in the past, he's made a lot of homophobic remarks in the past, a lot of remarks that would take you out of good standing with the liberals at MSNBC, but for the fact that at the time he was their most vicious attack dog against the likes of Matt Taibbi, cracking down on internet speech, which is, of course, a hallmark of the MSNBC ethos, right, is to crack down on disinformation and hate speech and all that. So as long as Mehdi Hasan was doing their bidding in that way, they could deal with him. Now that hate speech, quote unquote, could be linked to Islam, and now that Muslims are fighting Jews in the Middle East, well, now that apparently could be a pretext to shit-can him, but maybe not. Hasan compared non-Muslims to animals and linked homosexuals to pedophiles and sexual deviants. In 2019, Hasan apologized for those comments, calling them dumb, offensive, ranty stuff, and admitted that he had said extreme sounding things as a young man. Yeah. I mean, the guy's just a bullshit artist. It was also this under bad things happen to bad people, but for bad reasons. That's what this story you could file under.
That's a very good way to put it. Yeah, and they certainly didn't fire him for that because he did his mea culpa, and as we've seen with Joy Reid's homophobic blog post, which I think worse than the crime was the cover-up in that case, where she made these crazy claims that she might have been hacked, going so far as to get the FBI involved in it. I mean, she should be in jail for that. I mean, that's illegal. Like, you can't make false claims like that to the FBI and drain FBI resources, but she's Joy Reid, so she can get away with it. So they certainly don't care that he didn't read from the hymnal before he worked with them. But they can throw that out now if they need to.
Exactly. Now, here's what I suspect, obviously, as many of you will as well, is the real reason for his cancellation, at least his show's cancellation. Hasan has been one of the strongest critics of Israel in the mainstream media during the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, and he is known for his strident social media commentary and clashes with conservatives and other political foes. When Levine resurfaced the comments, he added that it's hard to imagine MSNBC allowing someone on television who said similar things about a different religion. MSNBC declined comment when specifically asked if the resurfaced comments contributed to this decision. I don't think they contributed to the decision. I think it's revealing that they ignored them when they could have actually punished him for them, right? They let that slip. And then when he took a stance that was inconvenient for them, a good stance, they got rid of him. Right, so they let all the bigotry go when it served their agenda, and now they're shit-canning him for taking the right stance on an urgent issue.
They could resurface that stuff on Joy Reid because she's been surprisingly good on this.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe she's next. In an internal memo, MSNBC President Rashida Jones focused on the positive aspects of the shakeup. Now, listen to this. Look at this joke of a network. As we emerge from a multitude of historic events these past months, we have an opportunity to build our accomplishments and keep the momentum going into 2024 and beyond, Jones wrote in a memo obtained by Fox News Digital. Hasan will remain at the network, bringing his much-needed insight, just not needed enough to let him have his show, but much needed insight and expertise to MSNBC
I mean,
viewers.
They're pulling a Barton Fink on him.
Exactly.
We're going to keep you under contract. You're not going to be able to write for anybody else. We're going to own everything you write, and we're not going to produce anything that you write.
Right. We'll bring you on once a week. As a political analyst and fill-in host, Jones added. Hasan didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Now look who they're replacing him with. MSNBC is hardly moving away from progressive commentary. Again, the ridiculous Fox News slant. Anybody to the left of Mitt Romney is Che Guevara in their eyes, right? In another programming decision this week, it's launching a weekend morning ensemble show, The Weekend, which will be hosted by, look at this lineup, former Biden aide Simone Sanders.
Rogues Gallery.
Alicia Menendez, the daughter of embattled Democratic Senator Bob Menendez. No, not embattled, of brazenly corrupt criminal Senator Bob Menendez, and Michael Steele, the former Republican chairman who now openly detests the party. So look who they are replacing him with. Look who they're putting up in his place. Simone Sanders, one of the most shameless hypocrites of the modern era, goes from working for Bernie Sanders, trashing the Democratic establishment on TV because she got paid, and then on a dime turns around and defends the Democratic establishment on TV because she gets paid. The daughter of Bob Menendez and a never-Trump Republican. This is why I've said in the past, MSNBC at this point is not even, they're barely even a liberal network at this point. They are basically the Lincoln Project Republican network at this point, right?
They're a neocon
it's just
network.
Wild. What's that?
They're a neocon network.
A neocon network. Now, here's some data that Russell pulled. This is a ratings chart. So you could see on Sunday, October 1st, Mehdi Hasan's average audience share 617,000, and as you could see, it kind of started out good, and then it sort of valleyed out, and then it kind of steadily grew up till that point. And then what happened? Do you guys remember what happened? Because after October 7th, they kind of mysteriously took him off the air for a while. They didn't shit can him. They didn't fire him. It wasn't exactly clear what was happening. Right? We couldn't exactly report that they had fired him or canceled him, but they pulled his show.
And then a couple of guys screamed at Rachel Maddow in a synagogue about
right, exactly. A couple of troublemakers
speaking up for the Muslim anchors.
They tried to defend him. And it didn't quite work. But his show went dark for a few weeks with not much explanation. MSNBC and Peacock said that they wanted to focus more on breaking news because there was a war going on, and that, because he does a structured show, it's hard to do breaking news with Mehdi Hasan because he does interviews. And that we were like, okay, I mean, we can't disprove that, but at the same time, it's a kind of a weird decision to make. And notice his ratings never recovered because media is all about momentum. Your show goes off the air for a couple of weeks. It's hard to get the audience back. So if you look, October 1st, 617,000 in the P2 demographic, 1849, 52,000, 25 to 54, 72,000. And then if you look on October 22nd, far fewer viewers because he had that hiatus and it just killed the momentum of the show. Now, given that, I will float a theory, just a theory, could be wrong. This is only speculation based on evidence that we're seeing now. I don't think they wanted to fire him. I think firing him would have made them look too bad. I think they figure, let's take him off the air for a few weeks. Let's just kill the momentum of the show. This way, when he comes back and the ratings are lower, we can just swap him out. It was like a soft firing, basically. They said, we're going to put you in timeout so that the viewers move on, and it's hard to regain that momentum from the show when you come back. And then we'll say, all right, well, now that you're back, all right, the show's lost its fastball a little bit. We're going to swap you out. That seems like maybe it was, because what other explanation to just mysteriously take him off the air for a few weeks? No explanation, no disciplinary action, no nothing.
They definitely took him off the air because of his takes.
Right.
But, and there's no real way to know this. You would have to, get the Rand Corporation to do a deep dive into why audience stopped watching him. I argue when we were preparing this segment, the Venn diagram of Zionists and MSNBC watchers has got to be almost 1-for-1. Like, that's got to look like a lunar eclipse. There has to be almost total overlap between people who watch that network and Zionists. So I think his take is a big part of the drop in his ratings. I think for that particular audience, you can't have a guy on there challenging Israel's narrative on this. They just want happy talk. They just want the good old cowboys and Indians. The Palestinians are primitive, and at best, they're victims of Hamas, and we're actually liberating these people. We're not murdering and genociding them, and any suggestion otherwise is just crazy talk. That's all they want to hear, just like all they want to hear is how Joe Biden is great and the best president since FDR. They don't want to hear anything that's off narrative. And Mehdi is introducing these things that are off narrative.
Yeah, I think that his takes were perhaps a little too raw too soon, which is why they took him off the air for a couple weeks. And I think, it could be a combination of those two factors, where on the one hand, they wanted to, shut him up for a couple weeks when emotions were really high in the immediate aftermath of October 7th. And that also had the effect of chilling the show. Right, because you take a show off the air for a few weeks, it's not going to come back with the same kind of ratings unless you're a huge star, which he's not.
Please clap.